Here we are now at the end of all things. Well, the end of the Trump administration. So not all things, but that thing at least. Joe Biden, a man with the mental acuity and awareness of an oyster, is now in the White House, where he will be taken by the hand, guided into a closet somewhere, given some coloring books to keep him busy while Kamala Harris runs the government. And it will be, let's face it, a radically far-left government, the most far-left government in American history by a mile. We can pretty much guarantee that. To make matters worse, there will be no constraints. There will be no restraining it. They will be unfettered. They will be free like birds to fly off and fulfill their Marxist dreams. Republicans, aren't good for much, as we've learned, especially when it comes to actually enacting and acting upon their own agenda, but they can at least play defense. They're decent at that. They can block the Democrat agenda, even if they can't or won't push forward their own when they have the power. Only now, they will be unable, or certainly at least less able, to block anything, given that the Democrats won Georgia and thus the Senate. The Republicans could have won Georgia, if not for the fact that the Georgia race became a circus sideshow of grifters and carnival barkers raising money for their own benefit while telling Republicans to stay home and forfeit Congress to the left. Also not helping matters, the Republican candidates in those races could not themselves have been any less exciting or less inspiring if they tried. And they did try, it seemed. The upshot is that, again, Democrats have full control, and they will exploit that control to the fullest possible extent. They will show us what it looks like when power is wielded. Make no mistake. They will do everything that they have the legal right to do and a whole bunch of things that they do not have the legal right to do. Democrats impose their will when given the opportunity. Love them or hate them, and I'm very much a member of the second club. The fact is that when put into a position of power, the Democrats do what their voters put them there to do. Republicans, on the other hand, twiddle their thumbs and bide their time, waiting to be out of power again so that they can finally pretend to care about the agenda that they didn't enact when they had the chance to do it. Democrats don't play that game, as we have seen. And we will see even more in the years ahead. Making matters worse, the Democrats have a taste for vengeance now, a taste for blood. They feel that those who inflicted the last 4 years upon them, those responsible for making it happen, so, 75 million people or so, should pay for what they've done. And they are determined to prevent such indignities from ever happening again. Whatever progress may have been made in the last 4 years, whatever good may have been done, it's all mostly stuff that can be easily reversed and undone, mostly by executive order. Trump actually reversed some of it himself on the way out the door. For example, rescinding his own executive order banning administration officials from taking lobbyist jobs within 5 years of leaving government. So Trump saved Biden the paperwork on that one, I guess. The rest, Biden or his handlers can do on their own without much trouble. Meanwhile, the conservative movement is fractured into a million pieces. Trump leaves office impeached and deplatformed, facing the possibility of a Senate conviction. Many other much less famous conservatives have also been deplatformed and censored, with the powers that be currently dreaming up ways to silence the rest of us. We are under suspicion. We are under attack. The left won by whatever means necessary, and now we are on the outside. We are scattered. We are disorganized. We are weakened. That's the reality of the situation. It's best now that we look it straight in the eyes, as uncomfortable as it may be. I'm not here to tell you fairy tales or delude you into a false sense of security. The right has been deluding itself for far too long, telling itself stories about secret plans and 4D chess, and insisting that everything will magically work out in the end. Up until last night, I saw people still insisting that Trump would remain in office today, and the plan would unfold and everything would be okay. They held on to the delusion until the bitter end. Some of them probably still holding on to it, even now. I wouldn't be surprised if the new theory is that Trump is really president still and is secretly running the government from his bat cave somewhere. I'm not joking. This is what some people will believe. Those of us with the boldness to face reality, though, will face it. And reality is, as I have described it here. So the question is, what now? Where do we go from here? What does the road ahead look like? Is all hope lost? Are we doomed? Should we give up? Well, I can answer those last three questions with a no, no, and no. Hope is not lost, we're not doomed, and we should not give up. As for what exactly happens or what precisely the future holds, that I don't know for certain. Nobody does. But I do know that even if we're bruised and beaten at present, we are not in a hopeless state. Despair is not the answer. And though I may be known as a guy who can be quite bleak at times. I'm not exactly a ray of sunshine, I must admit. I have never been in despair, and I am not now. And you shouldn't be either. Despair is what happens when you have not only no hope, but no meaning in your life. Despair is when you wake up and look around and you can't see that your life has any purpose. It's when everything is empty or appears to be from your perspective. You know, I would hope that nobody would ever be tempted to feel this way because of political events. But from the sound and look of it, it seems that some people really are teetering close to that. It's not that these are Trump-obsessed cultists who can't bear to live without the man. It's that they look around and they see that our government and our institutions are overrun and run by people who hate them, and they think it's all lost, and there's nothing ahead but more defeat, and there's no point. And that's where the despair comes in. But it shouldn't. In fact, there is a silver lining to our present condition. The silver lining is that now conservatives can stop looking to one man in Washington to save them and save their families, and instead focus on making an impact where it really matters and where it can really be felt. You know, the fight going forward is where it's always been, though we've neglected and ignored it. Focusing instead on national politics as though national politics is the be-all and end-all. The fight is in our communities. It's in the culture, on the local level. The true battle for everything is happening right around us, right now, directly around us. And we can make a profound impact there if we're willing to put in the effort. Let me just give you one tangible example. The school system. Millions of children, do you hear me railing about this all the time? Millions of children are sent into these buildings, or into Zoom meetings now, I guess, where they are conditioned and indoctrinated into the doctrines of the far left. You know, we could have only Republican presidents for the next 50 years. It would make almost no difference culturally as long as we keep feeding our kids into this system. This is something we can change. We can change it. Right now we could. But it takes work. It's not always fun. We can pull our kids out. We can form homeschool co-ops, supporting each other in our communities, taking charge of our children's education. We can do this. We can do that. Lots of us are already doing it. If enough of us do it, we can radically change the culture in immeasurable ways, overnight, no matter what anyone in Washington says or does. 50 million children are currently enrolled in public school. 50 million. Cut that number in half, let's say. We could have Democrat presidents for the next 50 years, and that would also almost not matter at all, because we will have so significantly taken back control of our own families, and thus the culture. The condition of the family is what determines the condition of the culture. This, as I said, is just one example. There are plenty of others, including in the realm of politics, local politics. Go to your town hall meetings. Figure out who your local council members are. Do you even know? These people have more control over you than you think. Speak out when things are happening in your neighborhood and community that you don't like. Protest the drag queen story hours. This stuff matters. Don't listen to people who tell you it doesn't. In fact, at this point, any conservative who tells you that the culture wars don't matter, please, if there's going to be any change we make, disregard them, dispense of them, throw them out. We don't need them. How can you expect your voice to have any impact on anything if there are drag queens performing for children at your local library 2 blocks away and you say nothing and do nothing about it? Oh, we can't do anything about it. Really? We can't. If all the people in the community that didn't like it showed up at that library, you don't think that'd be enough to put an end to it? It would. It happens because we don't show up and we don't do anything. We could, but we don't. It's not all a matter of protesting things either. You know, on the other end of it, we can support the people who are making a positive difference. Donate to your local pregnancy center. Give to your church. Get involved in your church. These are all things we can do. There are plenty of other things too. It may not be dramatic or flashy, but the real work of fighting to reclaim the culture and your country is rarely dramatic or flashy. The real work is being done by serious, sober-minded people, usually without fanfare and without notice. That's where our focus should be. Well, I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Matt Walsh Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right down there so you can stay up to date on all of our future content.